Hey, glad you're here. I have a question for you. Who turned out the lights in the sanctuary? Hidden sexual sin has crept into our churches and faith communities, allowing predators to hide in the shadows, and this has forced victims to protect themselves against a foreboding enemy. Sexual perpetrators and sexual abuse victims are both loved by God. They live, move, and worship side by side in the local church and other faith communities. Sexual abuse is a unique crime because it's hidden and rarely reported. Church counseling offices are overflowing with people with issues that can often be traced back to childhood traumatic sexual abuse. Sadly, few churches are equipped to tackle the issue of sexual abuse until they're faced with a legal, media, or congregational storm. It's only then that leadership is forced to react, and oftentimes they have little training and can wound victims and enable perpetrators without having a sound biblical response or any biblical best practices in place. We can tackle this systemic problem in our churches by increasing awareness, developing best practices, demanding accountability, formulating biblical church discipline, and offering a biblical discipleship model for understanding and caring for the victims of sexual abuse in our faith communities. Ephesians 1 says, I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you, the riches of his glorious inheritance in his holy people. If we are to effectively minister to the sexually broken, we must understand our role as the church. We have to make sure that our motive as a church is right and ask ourselves, what is our purpose statement as a church? What do we value? Is shepherding wounded people part of the narrative? What is the leadership view on sexual sin? Is there an unrepentant element of hidden sin in your leadership? Is there an environment of accountability? Do people feel safe in your church? We must know what our church culture is all about before we ever respond to a sexual assault victim. The most unsafe church in the world is the one that does nothing until a victim discloses and then uses that person as a kind of a guinea pig to figure it all out. We need to prepare and develop a culture of care ahead of time so that we're ready when it comes through the church doors. Not every church will have the same role and mission. For example, a rural 50-person church will respond to sexual assault very differently than a 4,500-person megachurch in the heart of a big city. Resources are different. Calling is different. So the first thing that we have to do is answer the question, what does our church feel called to do in this issue of sexual abuse and exploitation? It's important to have a plan in place to meet the needs of sexual abuse and exploitation victims when they arise. Wishful thinking and a kind of hope for the best, fake it till we make it attitude can be very damaging to everyone involved. Once you define your mission, and if it includes ministering to the sexually broken, we need to get some new conversations started with church leadership to discuss topics like, what is the overall attitude towards sexual abuse in our church? What is the vision for the ministry to sexual assault and exploitation victims? What do we think the role of the church should be in response to sexual assault victims? What about to perpetrators? Do people seek help from your organization with these issues? Why or why not? What prevents sexual assault disclosures in your church now? Have you faced an issue of sexual sin with a leader within your church team? How did you respond? What could you have done differently? Illuminate equips Christian leaders through programs that provide comprehensive biblical responses to sexual abuse and exploitation in the church. This is needed if we're going to offer a healing path for the abused while also calling out sexual sin among perpetrators. We must turn the lights back on in our sanctuaries and return to the basic models of sexual discipleship to transform our church cultures from the inside out and from the top down. If we are going to illuminate the issue of sexual abuse in our faith communities, We have to take a look at where we stand on this issue as a church. If you'd like a free copy of an assessment tool for Christian leaders, reach out and we'll send it to you. Let's connect, and together we can shine light on the issue of sexual abuse and exploitation in our churches together.